Hello, and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Andrea, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube, live or later, and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message and meditation today comes in the form of a pre-recorded video from Unity minister and award-winning author Reverend Paul Roach. Paul is a native of Wales in the United Kingdom and a graduate of Jesus College, Oxford University. Paul served as the senior minister at Unity of Fort Worth from 1988 until retiring in 2018. And he hosted a podcast entitled World Spirituality with Reverend Paul Roach for 14 years, interviewing spiritual leaders and authors from around the world. Paul is the author of the award-winning book, Unity and World Religions, which focuses on the perennial philosophy within all spiritual traditions. He is currently working on a second book about his journey to India in 1976. Paul believes joy, laughter, and gratitude are essential qualities on the spiritual path. And now, here is Reverend Paul Roach.
Hello, I'm Paul John Roach, Unity Minister and author of Unity and World Religions. And this is part 4 in our series on the beautiful idea of the golden thread of universal truth. And in this final part 4, we're going to explore how to have a direct experience of that truth, which is the summation, I think, of all that we've talked about up till now. So that's exciting. Before we get to ways in which to have that direct experience of the truth, I want to talk about a few traps that we can fall into along the way. And one of the biggest traps on our spiritual path is to be convinced that we are already enlightened, which is a tough one, because we could say, well, I'm advanced now, I know all about the truth, and we may do intellectually, we may have a deep understanding of it, but unfortunately it can be a little bit arrogant if we're not careful. We might say others will get this when they reach my level of understanding. Shock horror that we might have ever said that. Usually when we think that we are enlightened, of course, we aren't, right? We have simply spiritualized our egos. And those egos are tough little critters, and they can co-opt the truth for their own purposes. And we use the truth, therefore, to serve our purposes rather than the greater purpose of expanding the good throughout the universe. So what Tibetan teacher Chogyam Trungpa said was spiritual materialism, right? Taking these beautiful spiritual teachings and applying them at a lower level of understanding, materializing them, spiritualizing, as we said, our egos. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, encouraged us to utilize the truth, as he said, utilize the truth principles, because they are practical and effective. And I love that term, to utilize them. But there's a difference between utilizing something, right, taking it and helping us live a more expansive life, and using them for our own purposes. If we use them for our own purposes, then what we have is God in our pocket, right? We bring God out when we need something, but when we don't, we go along our merry way. Attracting our good is great, but if we're attracting it only for us, then we've got a problem, because to attract our good is to create greater abundance for all beings everywhere. We have to check ourselves at any given moment as to what is my motivation here? Am I coming from a spiritualized ego or from the truth of my being? We can fall into these traps quite easily, and I sum them up by talking about spiritual arrogance and spiritual bypassing. Let's look at spiritual arrogance. Convinced we've made it and that we know it all. That's a kind of spiritual arrogance. And when we got spiritual arrogance, we're not really aware of our blind spots. You know, we all have blind spots, just like in a car. You can't see that the car behind at the side of you for certain times. There's that blind spot. And we can have the same. And yeah, we're convinced that there's no blind spot, that I see perfectly. And of course, when you're convinced about something, you often don't see perfectly. There has to be hubris involved. You know, there's a consequence for that kind of arrogance. We see it all through the Bible and in many spiritual teachings, the warnings against arrogance. In the Old Testament, in Genesis, they built a Tower of Babel, right, in Babylon to reach the sky because they felt that they were as great as God and they could touch God simply by building the tower. And of course, God thought this was silly and confused them by making everybody speak a different language. So they were no longer able to build. They were confused by each other. The idea of a chosen people can be dangerous too. And many religions have this idea that they are the chosen ones, the special people. Some of the most aberrant behaviors have happened because certain cults have believed that they were the special ones, and their followers would do anything to follow that. The priestly caste in Judaism, in Hinduism, in other isms, including Christianity, can lead us astray too, because the priests have undue power and tend to control things. It's my way or the highway. I'm the only one right way. The Buddha railed against the priestly caste of Hinduism at the time because he was in rebellion against the fact that they had the truth locked away in their own special system and wanted to make it available to all beings. In our modern life, we can look at some of the televangelists out there, and they seem to be enamored by the number of planes that they have and things like that, which is a little bit far from the true teachings of Christianity. And it's not that you can't have a plane and utilize it, but the love of the plane, right? Many people say it's the money is the root of all evil, but of course the original quote from St. Paul is the love of money is the root of all evil. Money is just a commodity. There's nothing good or bad about it. It's just useful to us. But when we're unduly in love with it, then we have a problem. So it's when we attribute something something that doesn't deserve, which is our undying love, in this case to money, or our undying love to our own egos, we become a little bit arrogant. Another aspect of arrogance is we become too willing to teach and inform others because we understand, and I'm going to give you the benefits of my great wisdom. Better to be a little humble, I think. Spiritual bypassing. We've used this term in Unity recently because I think it's helpful. We have a tendency to be a little bit overly positive-minded in Unity, and which is great. It's great to be positive, but if you're overly positive, then you tend to short circuit going through tough times. So spiritual bypassing is when we're not willing to look at hard topics. We want to immediately get to the solution without resting in the difficulties that we're having. The use of platitudes is another one. And the platitude may be true in general. It may ultimately be true in truth, but it's not helpful when you lay it on somebody when they're going through a difficult time. If you say to somebody it's all good when they're in terrible pain or even with a terminal illness, not helpful. But of course, it is all good ultimately because God is good, and the unfoldment will lead us to blessings. But to lay that trip on somebody is unhelpful. Pollyanna tendencies to make the best of every bad situation without acknowledging the pain involved. And it's really short-circuiting the process. In traditional Christianity, it's often called cheap grace, getting to grace, getting to the blessing, but without experiencing the difficulty. Very important to grieve, for instance, if we have a loss, we can't just go from a terrible loss to I'm feeling great, because we're denying all the sensations that belong to that grieving process that are essential for us to work through to a conclusion that can be healthy for us. Um, I don't like the idea of slapping affirmations on things. I love affirmations. They're powerful statements of truth, but sometimes we can just slap an affirmation on our difficulties like a band-aid, and it doesn't really help. In fact, it's irritating to the deeper wisdom within us that we're doing this. So these are all some of the ways that some of the games that we can play that trip us up on the spiritual path. And that's enough of that, right? Because we don't want to focus on all the things that trap us. We want to focus on all the things that free us. And so for the rest of this talk, I want to explore ways that we can have a direct experience. We can create a direct experience, and even more important, embody a direct experience of the truth in our lives today. So I offer up 10 ways. And again, I'm sure there's more, but I hope these 10 ways are helpful for you, and you can cogitate them and look at them, as you unfold on your spiritual path. Number one, these are ways to have a direct experience of the truth. Number one, be honest, right? Express your humanity, warts and all, right? Don't try and hide anything. Just to be real and honest is the best policy in general. That doesn't mean we have to blurt out to everybody, all and sundry, our deepest secrets and all the deficiencies that we feel we might have. But it means that we're not hiding them. We know that we have difficulties, and it can give us humility, give us that openness to something greater than just being right on all occasions. To be humble and confident, right? I think there's a winning balance there. We don't want to be miserable, humble, downtrodden people. Oh, I'm nothing. I am of no account. That's not good. But humility is just simply opening to something greater and being confident in that, because we're confident in the fact we do have a beautiful spirit within us that is greater than all our difficulties. And when we combine humility and confidence together, like I say, it's a winning combination. It's a little bit like Jesus when he said, be wise as serpents, but innocent as doves. Again, there's that counterintuitive, sort of contradictory marrying of those two seemingly different approaches. Wise as serpents, yes, wise to the ways of the world, nobody's fool, and yet not taken in, not bought and sold by the world, so that we become cynical, but still open to that innocence and joy of that childlike experience of seeing things for the first time. When we marry the two together, wise but innocent, then wow, we can do wonderful things. I believe Jesus embodied it in his life. He was nobody's fool. When he was tested by Pilate, he was very wise in what he said or didn't say. And yet he remained very childlike and open, filled with love. And it was that love that help transcend the difficulties of the cross. So be you, fundamentally. Be you, not some idea that you have about yourself, right? Be genuine. And that's the best policy that we could possibly have, is just to be genuine, just be real about who we are. Number two, laugh at life and at yourself. I think laughter is the greatest medicine we can have. We always had a good laugh in my church community when we gathered together, because part of the spiritual life, I think, is to laugh, and it's buoyant. It energizes and oxygenates our body. It lightens our minds, and it draws us together because we can all laugh at the idiosyncrasies and the weirdness of life, right? And we're not laughing at things, we're laughing with. We're laughing with people and lifting ourselves up as a result. So don't take yourself too seriously, no matter what it is. Remember a person that I knew who was undergoing radiation and chemotherapy and actually was in a terminal situation. They were going to die from this particular form of cancer. And their little watchword was, I'm too blessed to be stressed. And it worked for that person. It was being honest about the fact that even in the midst of this, I'm blessed with friends and the day that I have, the moment that I have. And so I'm not going to give in to stress. I know it's a difficult situation. I'm not denying that, but I'm not going to be overwhelmed by it. I'm going to feel that blessing. And there's that balance again. 3, let go, self-empty. And we referred to emptiness and the void earlier when we talked about Buddhism. And Buddhism has a key idea there in terms of emptiness. It's the fact that everything is relational, nothing is set in stone, nothing is solid in that sense. It flows, and therefore it flows in the spaciousness of emptiness. In this shunyata, which is the void, and yet it's a very creative place. It's beyond fixation. It's beyond having to have it a certain way, and so it's playful. We can let go and self-empty ourselves. Great story from the Zen tradition. This wise intellectual from America came to a Zen master, and he'd studied all kinds of philosophy, he knew a lot, but he felt there was more to learn. And so he came to the master and said, please teach me. So the master looked at him and said, sit down, let's have a cup of tea. So they sat down and had this little tea time with each other. And the Zen master got the teapot and started pouring the tea into the cup. Well, he filled it to the brim, and then he kept pouring and he kept pouring. And the tea overflowed the cup onto the table and down onto the floor. And the potential student, the American, said to himself, "This guy's nuts. I'm not going to study with him. He doesn't know anything. He can't even pour a cup of tea." But then there was a quiet moment after that, and the Zen master turned to him and he said, "Just as the teacup that is full cannot take more tea, so your mind, if it is full, cannot take more wisdom. So in order for you to begin this practice in Zen, I want you to empty your cup, empty your mind of preconditions, of all the things you think you know, and start again with that humility." And I love that because this is exactly what we're talking about by self-emptying. The Sufis call it learn how to unlearn, right? Let go, be a child again. 4, choose to experience awe and wonder daily. I think this is one of the biggest things you can possibly do, because when you have awe and wonder, you are like a little child, right? It becomes a magical place that you're in. You can have awe and wonder for creation. As I told you earlier, I'm studying cosmology right now and reading books about quantum mechanics and the universe. And I'm finding it fascinating, endlessly mysterious and wondrous, this universe we live in. Life itself, the multiplicity of Mother Nature, the beauty of Mother Nature. I love birds and I enjoy watching them. The flowers that are bursting forth in spring, the ways the clouds move across the sky. All this is cause for joy and wonder, isn't it? Just contemplating God and God's presence through everything is also a cause for wonder. New ways of being and living that we have when we discover unity and how marvelous it is to apply these principles is, again, wow, this is wondrous. And making connection with people who have similar minds can create that excitement as well. Or reaching down and helping somebody that is lost for a moment and helping them up is also a cause for rejoicing. So wherever we are, we can experience awe and wonder. I like to do it because I feel that's keeping me young, you know. We stay young as long as we stay open and receptive to new things, new possibilities, new joys. And it could be the simplest thing. Number 5, realize that you don't have to try so hard. You know, we push ourselves. In our modern society, we're told to always achieve. In the West, we're told the same way. We have to be rushing down the highway. And we've seen, and maybe we act the same way. We're rushing around from one thing to the next. We're too busy. I hear that excuse a lot. I'm so busy. Well, we all have the same amount of time, right? We choose to do the things that are important to us. So if we say we're too busy, it means what I want to do is more important. I don't want to do this other thing. I do have time, so I have to give up that idea. I'm so busy. Don't try so hard. Relax. Take time off. Who you are right now is enough, right? In fact, it's everything because you can't be anything else. We have these ideas about who we might be, but they're not the reality. The reality is you when you stop thinking and simply relax and be. Just be yourself. And you'll discover something new when you say that. I'm just simply going to be myself. Well, what's that? That's interesting. Comes back to Ramana Maharshi's teaching about examining who am I? Who am I right now? I'm not all these roles and tendencies and aspects of my being. I have them. You know, I might be a father or a mother or a child. I might have a certain job, but do these things define me? Who I am is much more simple and much more mysterious. I am the essence of divinity. I am love. We're halfway through, so it's a good time to breathe. And that's always solitary in terms of being close to and a direct experience with reality is simply to breathe, because you can't breathe in the past and you can't breathe in the future. You can only breathe in the now. And so let's do that. Let's just breathe in and breathe out, enjoying that perfection of the moment, which is always available to us at every moment of every day. Number 7, that was 6, to breathe. Number 7, do simple things with awareness. And I'm not talking about being overly mindful of things and making a fetish about it. You know, look at me being so mindful. It's doing it naturally. So whatever we're doing, notice yourself doing it with grace, just with attention. In fact, you're not noticing yourself anymore. You're just doing it. It's just who you are. You're just doing something quite natural. And when we do this, there's a certain grace that comes by simply doing things with awareness. And it could be the simplest thing, making a cup of tea. It could be opening a door. It could be greeting somebody. But we're doing it. We're present to it. So often we're not. We're involved with something else while we're in the midst of that particular action. As Ram Dass once said, when we're in the middle of our entree, we're dreaming about the dessert instead of just enjoying our entree. And this is very salutary, just to be in the moment and do what we do with simplicity and grace. Number 8, remember that everything is everything. I hope that's not a word salad, but I think it's the truth. From the smallest to the greatest, everything is connected. So everything is everything. When we touch the hem of the garment, we get the whole. And I love that image, that parable of Jesus, where a woman came and touched, well, not a parable, it was a story. When the woman came and touched the hem of his garment and received healing, because when we touch just one part of this truth, we get the whole truth. And that's powerful. We don't have to know everything under the sun. We just have to be present to one thing, have one understanding of something, and that'll yield understanding of everything. So we touch God in doing so, because there's no time or space to God or to spirit. And so everything truly is everything. Number 9, help someone, whether it be your spouse, a friend, a stranger, someone on the street, someone in the grocery store, someone that you've volunteered to be helpful with. Help someone, do something gracious and magnanimous. develop compassion, expansiveness, welcome. It could be, again, the simplest thing, but we're extending beyond ourselves. And number 10, give yourself permission to relax. We kind of said that before in terms of you don't have to try so hard, you can breathe, but it's done here 3 times in those 10 points because it is crucially important to remind ourselves to relax, to breathe, to not try so hard, right? It demands that we do it like a trinity over and over again. So to know that all is well, whatever the circumstance, all is well. I think all these ideas can help us let go of control and fixation, of arrogance, of ego, and simply be the natural, beautiful children of God that we are. Let that innate intelligence and wisdom and love and life energy shine through us. Be the beautiful people that we truly are. So thanks so much for being with me in this series. I know that I've given you lots of information. I hope it's been helpful. I hope that you can take some of it and go deeper with it over the coming days. And we're going to conclude our 4-part series with a meditation, short meditation based on one of my favorite quotes. And this is a quote from a Tibetan master from the 18th century, and his name was Rigzin Yingme Lingpa, which is an unusual name, isn't it, for our Western ears, but really a wonderful man. And I'm going to read his quote first of all, and then we can take it into meditation with us. So join me in a moment of reflection and meditation. He says, the pith essence, the very essence of the great perfection is to dwell in the natural radiance of all that occurs, at one with actions, energies, and thoughts, and beyond all contrived boundaries of view and meditation, at ease in the naked clarity of the present moment. So the pith essence, the core teaching, the essence of what we've been teaching these last 4 parts in this series, which is the great perfection, the natural great perfection, the golden thread of universal truth that's within us all. The pith essence of that is simply to dwell in the natural radiance of all that occurs. Everything is a gift. Everything can offer us light. So the natural radiance of all that occurs, at one with actions, energies, and thoughts, with all the things that are ours to do, all the thoughts that we have, all the energies that course within our body mind, and beyond all contrived boundaries of view and meditation, beyond all the things we think we know, and simply rest in what is. Come home to the now. At ease, relaxed, in the naked clarity of the present moment. I love that word, that phrase, naked clarity. Nothing to hide, open and receptive, in the form that we were born in, both naked physically and metaphysically, naked and protected, vulnerable, and yet safe, because we are at play in the fields of God, at rest and at ease in this present moment. So give yourself that gift right now. I am here now in this present moment. I have everything I need to live a happy, joyous, and helpful life. I am grateful for unity. I'm grateful for all the great way showers for my particular mentors. I am grateful for the truth that we are one in spirit and that we're on a joyous adventure. I am grateful for the small blessings and the great blessings in my life. And I am grateful for the hard knocks that have taught me to live more wisely, more humbly, more freely. I am now at peace, and all is well. And so it is. Amen. So thank you so much for being with me during these past 4 weeks, or whenever you've been listening to these parts of our series. And it's been a joy for me, and hope it was something of a joy for you as well. Please feel free to contact me at any time. My website is pauljohnroach.com. My email is pauljohnroach@yahoo.com. I'm open and receptive to hearing from you. I'm looking forward to that and deepening our time together. So thanks for everything. Many blessings. Bye-bye.
Oh my. That was so good. Thanks for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website at uofva.org to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation, and support our ministry with your financial donation. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.